We are back with episode 12 of Saloon Sports, and we are going to be taking care of all audio problems in the future. Just want to get that out of the way. And we're also here to talk about what happened in the game on Sunday and what the Cowboys have coming up this weekend against the Raiders. And we're also going to do a little small talk today since it's the beginning of the week and not too much news going on with the team other than the practice report. I guess we're gonna get started off with the Giants and that game. It was my initial impressions of the game were the Giants, especially from the first half. The Giants were playing to not lose, and the Cowboys were playing to lose. A lot of drop passes. Dez dropped a first down. Dez dropped a touchdown. Cole Beasley dropped a pass. After the game, yesterday, we heard about the weather conditions and the wind being ridiculous, which is being attributed to not Cole Beasley, Dan Bailey missing 2 field goals, and the punting game being a little bit off as well with Chris Jones. So I guess that's a good place to start. What did you think about the first half of that game, and what were your impressions?
It's a good thing we were playing the Giants because we would have lost to any other team. We started out slow, and the Giants came out playing like I thought they would. They were playing for Eli. They were playing to not be the laughing stock of the NFL in this week, and they did for the most part, for the first half at least. Some big plays, one at the end of the first half with the one to Dez, the one later on in the game to Beasley to really seal up the game. But without those 2 big plays, I think this is a much closer game, and it probably becomes within a field goal. And like you said, with the way Dan Bailey was playing, top of that. But all that aside, I'm glad we did. It's definitely a building block that we need moving forward to Oakland. Um, Offensively, we still had the same miscues and problems, just so many drop balls, holding, play. Dak was able to rally the team together and put together a few scoring drives and ultimately come out on top. But all in all, uh, moving forward, we need more. There's definitely a game to build on. Let's just hope that we can finally put together an entire game offensively rather than just 1 or 2 drives here and there.
I think Rod Smith had several pretty big plays during the game that definitely paid off. It was his best game in the NFL. Uh, Jeff Heath had his best game of the year. Hitchens and Lee also were all over the place. Lee made several big plays. But yeah, the first half of just with the way the offense was playing was just it was difficult to watch at certain points. It seemed like they just did not. They were trying to give the game away, and the Giants weren't. They didn't play aggressive. They didn't play like a team that didn't have anything to play for. They were playing like they didn't. Like they were trying to preserve a lead late the entire game. So it was weird watching that first half. And the second half, like defense, pretty much after the midway through the first quarter, they shut down the Giants for the rest of the game, and that's with uh, the interior of the defensive line missed David Irving quite a bit. The running game, ended up only averaging, I believe, 3.5 yards a carry, but there were some holes from the 1-and-3 technique that were obviously from just bad technique and bad positioning from defensive tackles. So that was a little alarming. I guess but yeah, before we jump into the practice report, but yeah, that's one of the things I know is Jeff Heath had a really good game. He's been maligned quite a bit by fans, but this was his best game by far. Hitchens and Lee were all over the place. The corners played well enough. It's not like Eli was getting huge chunk plays besides that one busted coverage that happened. Other than that, really hard to critique the defense too much. They played the game they needed to play.
Yeah, exactly. Eli didn't really have anybody to throw to other than Ingram, who came up with a couple good plays, but the defense played who was in front of them, and it just happened to be a very New York offense. They're going to have a bigger challenge this week with Derek Carr. Played up to the bar that everybody has set for them this season, but they still can be a dangerous offense. Have a good, very solid offensive line. Marshawn Lynch can still rip off them and run through people. Amari Cooper, healthy, is still a top wide receiver in the league. Back from his suspension, so it's going to be a pretty good offense on paper. Together in the game and play competitively against Dallas is we'll find out this weekend. This is a winnable game.
Even before we get too far into that, the practice report did come out of this week, and Dave Irving's still not practicing. Everything else on the practice sheet, besides James Hanna not practicing because of a knee, is very similar. So that's the one thing. It doesn't look like they're going to be practicing Lyle Collins for a while, but he's still going to come up and play on game day. So that's one thing. And I mean, that we'll get more into the Oakland game later this week. There's a lot to be confident about playing the game, especially with the inconsistency of that team. And you hope that the Cowboys can show up. But there's been some interesting things that kind of came out of the game. DeMarcus Lawrence afterwards decided to basically say F the refs with holding calls, and David Hellman, a Cowboys reporter, basically went back through the season and calculated all the holding calls, and I believe he found the Cowboys at 8 holding calls for them, or six or 8 holding calls for them throughout the entire season. So there was some merit there, but I'm not. And when asked in his press conference, Jason Garrett said he had not been aware of the statements Lawrence made. I'm not sure if that was true or not, but evidently, if the head coach doesn't know about it, it's not a big enough deal with inside the star for any punishment to be handed down. So that's one thing to look at. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence is leading the league in sacks, and there were some missed calls in the game where he was basically literally being bear hugged and no holding calls, and he was frustrated. And he's probably the only guy in the locker room who doesn't take the media training to be as boring as possible from Jason Garrett to heart. He says his mind for the most part. So I thought that was interesting. So basically that was the one thing that came out of the game is him showing his frustration with not getting holding calls and calling out the refs, which might or might not result in more or less calls for the Cowboys. It's kind of I guess that kind of depends on the officiating committee for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something to look forward. You never want to hear a player speak out against the refs because of that threat. I guess it's just something that Garrett's going to have to handle internally, and just else follows suit and complains about the refs. But an issue. It's an issue that we really can't do anything about it at this point. What's said is said.
He's gonna get a fine. He's gonna get a pretty big fine from the NFL, I'm assuming, for that. But I mean, he's about to make a lot of money either way, so he'll probably be fine. It's just when you single out officiating crews, I'm assuming they stick together, and that just might end up being like, oh, you got horse collared. I didn't see it. Or something like that. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, it's not out of the realm of possibility because they are human, and humans do take offense to comments like that when you undermine their authority. And
I mean, it's the alarming lack of holding calls against the Cowboys is that's shocked me a bit. I didn't really think about it watching the games or anything. But compared to some of the calls against the Cowboys offense and some of the holding calls that have been called, is like, okay, that was really borderline. And you're calling that on a touchdown play. That's happened several times this year to the Cowboys. So it's iffy. It's if it's being called, if it's not being called both ways, then that's where you have room to complain. Just be consistent and call the game the same way throughout the entirety of the games. Like kind of like the strike zone in Major League Baseball. If your umpire is not calling the strike zone the same for both teams, that's when you can start complaining. Or if it's just consistently bad, I'm complaining about that as well. Um, but other than that, it seems like the team, Dan Bailey is getting pretty much. It came out that the win was just not doing anything they wanted to. So there's probably not much to look into. Dan Bailey missing two 50-plus yard field goals and the extra point his first of his career. He'll probably be fine. He evidently was really annoyed after the game and didn't really want to talk. So he's taking it seriously as well. But we can transition to the small talk and talk about what's going on around the NFL. The big thing that came out last weekend for Cowboys fans, sort of, even though the Eagles won and clinched the NFC East, Carson Wentz tore his ACL. I did not watch the game, but that's something big for the Eagles if they're in the playoffs now. It's with the problems that they have on defense and some of the weaknesses they have, where the offense was covering it up. I don't think they're going to be able to do that anymore. So the rest of the season and going to the playoffs is going to be really interesting for them, especially the final game against the Cowboys. Nick Foles now does not scare me because he hasn't done much of anything past his second year in the NFL when he was a starter. So, what are your thoughts about the Eagles' chances now?
well, I don't view the Eagles as a Super Bowl contender anymore without Wentz, but that's not to say they aren't still a dangerous team. They still have a combination of a very above average defense and far in the playoffs. Foles will in a while, but he's still a capable quarterback and able to distribute the ball. If he can do that evenly and find the right holes, he could put together a couple wins. But I think it does bode well for the Cowboys, especially only really matters if we can win these next two games leading up to it. But it's like the game no longer scares me at all. I think the Seahawks might be our toughest challenge to finish out the season. Not to overlook the Raiders, but just looking at what we have left. But yeah, the Carson Wentz is going to be a big loss for the Eagles. Fans are probably still crying over the fact that he's not playing anymore. But
Yeah, most of the Eagles fans I've seen are deciding to take shots at the Cowboys still, despite Carson Wentz just tearing an ACL. Like he's not going to be back for a while. I'm not even sure with a torn ACL if he'll be back for OTAs or any of the preseason. So that could be a lingering injury all the way up until next season. So that's not a joke of an injury. So when he comes back, it's like I'm not even sure the timetable on that. I don't think it's something where he'll miss the entirety of next season.
9 to 12 months.
Oh, so he might miss the all next season.
Well, it's usually it's a 9 month recovery period from the surgery. That's just a standard window for an ACL, unless you're Adrian Peterson, who can come back in 6 months. But that is almost nobody. So what most doctors are saying, especially his surgeon, is he might miss the start of next season, but he should still at most miss 4 games. I think was what I heard.
So yeah, the Eagles are going to have some problems going forward. And if you heal like Andrew Luck, you might miss the entire season. That's an unnecessary shot at Andrew Luck, but whatever. Um, uh, he's yeah. Yeah. This is a small talk, but he's missed the entire season for an injury. He was supposed to be back from 9 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago,
Well,
12 weeks ago. I mean, like I've been hearing he should have been back all the way from like the third week of preseason, and something is awfully wrong with his shoulder for him still to be out.
yeah, obviously that timetable was wishful thinking at best, but a lot of Andrew Luck's problem came with playing with that injury for almost a year. He really aggravated a lot of things in his shoulder, and hopefully that'll be able to regenerate with this year off. But he really he's really got his career in jeopardy at this point. I really hope he can come back, as he is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and it's fun to watch.
He throws a lot of interceptions and lots of fumbles. But what is that? Is that something that goes on the player, or is that on the training staff? Is that on the coach? Like, who does that fall on? Because there's no way if his injury is as bad as they're saying it was when he was playing on it, well, why was he ever cleared by anyone to play? Like, I don't. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, at some point you got to take the power away from the player as far as how they feel. Most guys, especially football players, are going to want to play through most injuries, just because for a majority, let's say probably 90% of the players in the league, their paycheck comes from being in that game. Obviously, luck doesn't go into this category, but in general, players are going to play down the severity of an injury unless it's a break or something that's clear on an X-ray or something like that. Like they're just going to try to play through it, but I guess it's going to have to fall on management and the medical staff to step in and really stop these players from jeopardizing the rest of their career.
Well, that's also something the NFLPA can do. The NFLPA has been maligned as the worst union in sports in the United States. That's something they can do. There are a lot of people still upset about the Ezekiel Elliott situation. NFLPA literally bargained the entire thing, so that falls upon them. I don't know why anyone's upset because they bargained the entire thing in good faith, and that's how unions work. That's how they're supposed to work. If they were all over the country, that's how they would work. That's something that should go in the NFLPA should look at. Like, why do we have all these incentive-based contracts? Why are these contracts not guaranteed? MLB has all these ridiculous sums of guaranteed money, and they don't quite make as much money as the NFL does. Why can't we at least have guarantees in the contracts if we're going to keep the salary cap? That's something the NFLPA is going to look at, which honestly, in my opinion, never makes much sense. Why are you going to sign a contract that only give power to the employer to cancel it, and then they have to pay you only a sum of what was agreed to? That literally doesn't work like that in literally almost any other situation. So I mean, yeah, I think that falls on the NFLPA to do something else. But yeah, I guess that also ties into something else that falls in the NFLPA. Back to the Gronkowski hit. He only got suspended a game for that, and the NFL's talking about player safety and all that stuff, and that's just that hit itself is just like, why are you playing for the rest of the regular season after that kind of hit? That's my first thing that came out of my mind. That's like the most egregious, the purposeful thing I've seen in the NFL this season. It's just like I don't care what your excuse is or how you apologize afterwards. Why are you doing something that could break a dude's neck, like literally on purpose? So I mean,
there is no excuse for that. No matter what the other player might have done to him before, which I don't think there's anything that warrants this type of behavior. But it's just an egregious act. Like, you can't have that in the league. And if the NFL is going to pretend to care about the head trauma that these athletes suffer through, even during their playing days and afterwards, then they're going to have to take hits like this more seriously. He gave him a concussion on a play that never should have happened.
Play was over.
The minimum should be 4 games, but it is what it is.
I mean, like the Patriots fans, they love comparing every single suspension to Deflategate. Well, Deflategate, my opinion has always been he was violating game rules. Then he destroyed evidence, so obviously that's kind of guilt. So if you're violating game rules, yes, I'm like, yeah, 4 games is beyond fair. So Gronkowski does something like this. That's a game rule where you're saying you want to protect players. That's a clear violation of it directly. Like you have no reason to be hitting him, period, in the head at that point. It shouldn't even be a mistake. Yet you do it, you get 1 game. Like your original call is, yeah, it's a 1-game suspension. Not appeal down to 1. You get a game. I'm like, why? like because he's a Patriot, because he's Gronkowski, like because he's not a defender. Like why does he get 1 game for an egregious play like that? That doesn't make sense. Because he immediately came out and apologized. Really?
I hate to suggest this, but there may be some weight to the NFL makes more money with him on the field.
Do they? He's a tight end. I mean,
but yeah,
I've never seen a tight end in the face of the league.
Gronkowski, I mean, he plays for the Patriots. He's become one of the biggest personalities in the league. Endorsements and sponsors, like he does command that type of money to have that impact.
It's kind of weird seeing the NFL care about. I mean, look how many players have been hurt this year that are missed games that are high name value. You have Rodgers, you have Elliott, you have Eric Berry, who's missed literally the entire season after the first game. Missing somebody. I'm probably missing a couple of somebodies, but there's been a lot of players hurt in the league, despite all the controversy and all the BS out there saying the NFL attendance is down. Yeah, if you're looking at a game in LA for the Rams, that's never been good. I still don't know why they wanted to go back there. Cardinals always have bad attendance for the most part, but Chargers have always had bad attendance. Yeah, that's not new. But when you look at Cowboys games, pretty full. When you look at Patriots games, pretty full in the snow. I mean, like, so they're still making all this money despite some of the problems they won't even address. So,
well, yeah, but at the same time, if you want to talk about,
go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to talk about attendance of the games, it doesn't help that the tickets are $200, $250 a pop. Most people can't really afford that type of thing. Like, I mean, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's a very affluent place. So is New England. So, I mean, you have to also take that into account when you're talking about attendance.
Oh man, you can talk about that because I remember you told me a story about how you were looking at game tickets and you're like, yeah, the cheapest are $250. That's kind of absurd, and you can't see anything from up there.
Nosebleeds in Atlanta. Those weren't even in Jerry World.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, because if those tickets are $250 nosebleed to see the game through literally binoculars or just look at the big board. What the hell are like 50-yard line seats in the middle where you're going to be able to see everything perfectly? 3,000? Like, is that like a legit price for a ticket? Or if you're going to be in the press box, $8,000 I mean, like who? I mean, like, well, yeah, that's kind of a thing. Like a lot of Yankees fans and Major League Baseball complain about tickets, and then I see some of the tickets, like, yeah, that's expensive. Then I look at Cubs tickets, I'm like, yeah, I might go sit in the bleachers maybe. But then you see like Rays tickets, $25 for like perfect seats. I'm like, why do I have to fall in love with a big market team? But yeah, I mean, the tickets like that, the NFL, like they make a lot of money on their attendance to games, and evidently charge a lot. So I mean, that's kind of problematic if you want to get a diverse fan base at games, unless you want to tell people you've got to save up for a year to go to one game, and you have terrible seats at that game. So I mean that they can do. I think they can do more. NBA. I've been to an NBA game. That was not that expensive. So they don't have to be as greedy as they are. But tell them that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I felt like looking up what 50-yard line tickets were on. Uh, I'm sorry, it's not pulling up. Anyways, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, but yeah, I'm just saying whether the tickets are that expensive, it's just you're only going to get a certain select few group of fans, and that should be the problem. That should be something the NFL looks into, because they're having an issue with parents not wanting their kids to play the game because of all these injuries and stuff. The one way you can get parents and kids to fall in love with the game is make it affordable for them to come to the game. I'm not taking a shot at the NFL for this specifically, but it should be affordable for families to go to games, aside from Make a Wish, or aside from their mom or dad coming back from a tour overseas. They should probably look at that more than just for those select few instances, and try to make it affordable for all families to, like, at least go to a game a year without it being a huge financial burden.
No, I think you're right. I mean, they should look into it, but they're not going to, because at the end of the day, it's still the owners making all the calls, and they're still getting paychecks. They're still making more money each year going up. So I don't see this system changing as much as I would like it to. And by the way, I did just pull it up for the Seahawks game in Arlington. Uh, about 20 rows up is $645 a piece. Lower level.
Oh, oh,
But
Jesus. Yeah. I mean, if you want to take, so basically, if we were to decide to, like, to go to Fort Worth, Texas from North Carolina, we would either have to spend $300 on a ticket, or we're going to drive for what, 12 hours, 13. I don't even know how far of a drive that is. It'd be
it's
a
probably
long
like
drive, but
probably 18, 20 hours.
which is probably a good $100 on gas. Then we have to get a expensive ass hotel in that area. So for a trip for us, it would be at minimum probably 900 a piece. Well, no, well, hotel cost a minimum $1,100 a piece. At
Yeah.
minimum, at most probably $1,500 if if that's just driving. If flying, probably $2,000. Expect to spend that on pretty much a 1 day thing. So
At least
that's not
the
affordable
American
for. That's not affordable for.
have that type of money to just blow on
Yeah,
a random football weekend.
yeah, that's not doable by 85% of the population without it killing them for a couple of months, or saving up for a couple of months. Like, that's expensive. I could almost go to Japan for that and stay a week. Speaking of overpriced things, ESPN. That. Um, but yeah, this is the thing. But we can talk about more of the big stadiums that are going to be filled up. The playoff picture coming up. It's getting interesting because right now there's no team. There's two teams in the NFC East who still have looks at or the NFC looks at their advantage. That's the Vikings, despite whatever they decided to do against the Panthers. I don't get it. I will never give the Panthers any credit until they win a Super Bowl. And the Saints, who I still don't know how they lost that game to the Falcons. That should not have been. Um, and then you have the Panthers middling around because of their defense. They still manage to stay in games. And you have the Falcons who haven't really shown anything on offense the entire season, but are managed to be 8-5 now. After that, you have the Packers with Aaron Rodgers coming back. Cowboys are still in it. Eagles lost their quarterback. I think the Redskins are now officially out. They might as well be out. They're not going to get in. The Rams and the Seahawks. The Rams, I did not expect them to give up as many points as they did. Their defense literally can't get it together. And the Seahawks, after the loss they took, if they lose to the Cowboys and they went out, they might miss the playoffs. So, on the NFC side, do you see any dark horses that could come up? Like, do the Cowboys even still have a chance, even if they manage to sneak in? If they sneak in, they'll have won 5 straight, so they'll have momentum. But it's going to be a tough path, especially if they pay like the Saints and Vikings on the way there.
Yeah, well, the thing about the playoffs is it pretty much starts an entirely new season. All you have to do is get there. Our biggest hurdle is going to be getting there because we need a lot of dominoes to fall our way at this point in the season for it to happen. Panthers beating the Vikings, that didn't go our way. But this is going to be tough because 3 teams could potentially make the playoffs from them, and then you also have the Seahawks out west, and it really leaves us further down on the pecking order as far. I think we can get there, but we with Wentz going down, our road got a little bit easier to get there, or to get 3 more wins to finish out the season. Could we potentially advance in the playoffs? Yeah, with our running game, we have Zeke back. The defense is starting to resemble something that we had in our 14 run. I think we could potentially be that dark horse if we're able to get there.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, the Browns, Deshaun Kaiser played his best game of his career, then in the overtime, for some inexplicable reason, he throws up something you would expect a college or high school sophomore to throw up, maybe. And gives up an interception, which leads to the Packers winning that game, and Brett Hundley's pretty much saving the Packers' chance at a playoffs with Rodgers coming back. And Falcons need 2 losses for the Cowboys to be able to jump them, which is going to be problematic. I thought those 2 losses would literally have came to the Saints. One of them still might, but yeah, those are the 2 teams I'm most frustrated about because I thought the Panthers and the Falcons would drop off because I don't really think those teams they're not full teams, and I don't really take them either seriously. But on the AFC side, it's at this point in time, after how bad the Patriots looked against the Dolphins, who it's a miracle they didn't lose by more than they lost by. It's pretty much the Steelers and the Steelers. I mean, it's pretty much the Steelers show in the AFC. Of course, the Patriots could put it together and manage to somehow win another Super Bowl somehow, but I can't see that happening. The NFC West, AFC West is still for grabs.
Steelers is a huge drop off. I mean, I'm not the type of guy that's going to count Tom Brady in the playoffs because he's just able to elevate the play of everybody around him to another level. Well, that's a little redundant. but especially the defense, like plays better during the playoffs under Brady. But go out west, like excuse me, staying in the East, I don't see the Buffalo Bills being any type of playoff picture, especially when uh, and then out west, I don't. Apparently, nobody wants to win that division because had their first good the first time in 5 weeks last week, and Philip Rivers is played themselves back into the playoff picture. Oakland is somehow still within one or two games. So many teams that are close to a playoff spot, but none of them are really from the rest of the pack. Like, other than the Steelers.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's the most surprising, especially in the AFC West. Really thought the Chiefs would run away with that, but the only team that's played themselves out is the Broncos. Chargers could still win that division with their start to the season. That's remarkable. I think one of the dark horses might come from the AFC South, whether that's the Jaguars or the Titans. Both of them are in the playoffs right now, with the Titans being one of the wild cards. That could be interesting. That team could be interesting because they have both of those teams have a running game, and in the playoffs that can mean a lot. But as far as which team is more dangerous on the offense, that's definitely the Titans. Blake Bortles is not winning you any games. That's just not gonna happen. Um, Marcus Mariota can definitely throw the ball, so that's going to be interesting. Uh, the Ravens, I'm not expecting like last wild card, whether it's the Bills, the Chargers, the Ravens, or who else is there? It could be the Chiefs as well. I don't know. Like that whoever gets the last wild card spot, I'm assuming the Titans are going to get in, or Titans or Jaguars are going to have that over the first wild card spot. I'm not even sure that really matters. I don't think that team is going to scare anyone, literally anyone else.
Yeah, I don't know. Jaguars do have a very good defense. They have a formula that is tried and
Well, I mean, like the
proven.
second,
And
like
I'm sorry.
like the other, like the Jaguars or Titans are probably going to win the South. But a team besides the Jaguars or Titans in the wild card, whatever that other team is, whether it could be the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Bills, or Ravens, that team I don't, or it could still be the Dolphins. I don't expect anything from that specific team.
Yeah, if you're asking who that last team's going to be, I think look to the AFC West. I think whoever is going to come up in second place there, it's the Ravens have a good defense, but Joe Flacco is the leader of an inept offense. Like, they really haven't shown much there all season. Flashes of a running game, but still the passing game just is not there. So I think it would have to come down to either the Chiefs are going to come away with the West, but so either going to be Oakland or, and I think I'm going to have to give the edge to San Diego because I like their pass rush with Joey Bosa. I think the defense and gives them a little bit more than what with the Raiders. Be the biggest difference there.
Chargers might have the best 1-2 punch pass rushers on edge pass rushers in the NFL. Um, that could be a scary team because Philip Rivers, even though how much he really gets under my skin, could definitely lead an offense to an upset. Uh, but it's just remarkable how far the Chiefs have fallen in such a short period of time.
Imagine what Philip Rivers' career would have been like with the defense.
in the Bills. I still can't get over the game they decided to bench Tyrod Taylor, and then he gets hurt, and Pierman gets hurt. It's like if they don't make the playoffs, they can blame that squarely on one decision made by the coach when it comes down to a one-game thing. That solely falls on your head coach and nobody else. But I mean, that's just, I mean, I guess that shows parity in the NFL right now. But when it comes, but when moving back to the Cowboys themselves and what they can do, it's when they're at full strength. If Elliott comes back in shape, which I'm guessing that's still a question mark since he's not in contact with anyone, and they manage to, assuming they beat the Raiders, and then they have the Seahawks, which is going to be that game now is the one that's got to be circles like. Do whatever you can to win that game. If the team gets up 21 points against the Raiders, I'm like, Sean Lee out. Bubble wrap, sit down in bed, like literally sit down. You're not, you ain't playing no more. Because you got to win that game. And that right now is the game you look at and say that's the one where Russell Wilson can make your life miserable by his damn self. So he might
he has to.
He might be the MVP if that team gets in the playoffs. So with that in mind, it's like, yeah, that it's Cowboys could get if they get in the playoffs. Sean Lee's healthy, Hitchens is healthy. I mean, assuming David Irving comes back soon, they can do something, especially with who they might play. I guess that depends who else gets in, because if they end up getting to play the Eagles again, I'm all for it, especially with Carson Wentz not there. Good. Go ahead. Like that's a game I would welcome, even if it's in Philadelphia. Cowboys have a better running game. They're better suited for that. The Saints would be a really tough game. The Vikings would be a really tough game. Are the Lions out of it yet? I don't. They're not getting there. What am I talking about? So they can compete with any of those teams. The only one I'm really worried about is the Vikings, really, because that when they play well, that defense is ridiculous, and they have outside receivers that I envy, being Cowboys fans, with how the outside receivers play. So if they get there, they can compete with any of those teams, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Vikings are clearly the most dangerous team that this year, especially. But the Saints' offense with Alvin Kamara healthy is very close to having that type of explosive, and they might have an even more explosive offense. They don't have the defense that Minnesota has, but they can put up a lot of points. So if you're going to get into I would put money on Drew Brees and that running game, because, so far this season, without Brees having to be that guy. So there's still that in your back pocket.
I still
the Cowboys do match up well, even against the Rams earlier this season. That game was in reach. Green Bay was in reach with the full healthy Aaron Rodgers. With our team healthy, we have the pieces in place to compete against most teams. Yes,
that I still can't get over the Green Bay game, because that to me is 100% coaching loss. And then his explanation for, when you get down there, you don't want to play around. I'm going to argue that on a philosophical level based on the way the game had unfolded up until that point. Aaron Rodgers, the Cowboys defense showed that there was no real reason to think the team was going to slow down Aaron Rodgers at all with that much time on the clock. There was no reason at all for what has happened in that game to think that was going to happen. So I would have been like, if you have a walk-in touchdown, take a knee at the one. You take a knee at the one. We're not scoring this touchdown until there's 20, 30 seconds left. We're not giving Aaron Rodgers a minute and like 10. Not happening. If we don't win the game, blame me. Blame me. He can't run. There's no way he can get down the field in 30 seconds. He can do it in a minute and 10 though. So that's the one game to me I'm gonna look back at like that's just that falls on the coaching. You've got to do something different there. The Rams game is just like whatever. The defense wasn't playing well. I don't think we had Hitchens yet. I don't think that Hitchens was back for that. Might not have had Lee either. Might have been one of those games you didn't have Hitchens or Lee. So well, that is what it is. But so I mean, like, there's this couple of games you just look back at and scratch your head at. The Falcons game is just like, well, Chaz Green. Just like can't say anything else but Chaz Green for that. The Chargers game was the Chargers game. The Eagles game was the Eagles game. That 3-game period is like, well, I'm not sure what you could have done to win those games, but they were so bad. You just have to accept that. Same with the Broncos game. Those 4 losses are so bad. It's just like, I don't know what happened during practice that week. But it's a complete organizational loss to get beaten that way, that badly in those 4 games. And the other 2 games they lost could have won. So I don't know. The team is weird right now. So
yeah,
I'm not sure why.
We're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about the Raiders game. I don't like going out there. Just that place in general just makes me just Oakland playing even though the Raiders haven't been dominant in a while. Just like the symbolism of the fans and the whole black hole thing. It's just like, I don't. It's like, makes you a little nervous. You would expect at some point the offense will play like it did last year, but at this point in the season, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But there's just a lot going on there. It's a winnable game. It's just they can't start the game like they get against the Giants, and it's not a division opponent, so you don't expect that. But still, I don't know.
We're going to have to come out firing against Oakland. Like, we cannot shoot ourselves in the foot. We can't hold. We can't drop open passes. Like, when we get an opportunity, we're going to have to seize it to limit their same time.
And that was a good thing seeing the past couple of weeks. Jeff Heath has an interception past 2 weeks. The team has 4 interceptions as a whole in the past 2 weeks. That's a good sign. If you can get turnovers in a game like this, good. Go get them. Because that changes the entire game. The one against the whoever they beat before the Giants, I already forgot. The one on the goal line by he saved the touchdown, could have saved the entire game. So you got to just get turnovers. Like if the ball is catchable, go get it. If the ball's on the ground, get the fumble. Like you got to get those. Because you just want that Seahawks game to mean something. Because that to me is still the toughest game left. Like Russell Wilson should give every single defensive coordinator nightmares because you'll play a defense perfectly and he can just scramble around for 15 seconds and throw a touchdown and be like, well, you know what, I quit. I'm gonna go golf or something because that's stupid. That 5'10" quarterback just did that. So yeah, I mean, you just got to make that Seahawks game mean something, and that's going to be a tough game regardless. Marshawn Lynch has not been Marshawn Lynch this year, so he's not really scaring me that much. So
5 to 10 plays, he's still the old Marshawn.
I mean, when you take a year off, I mean, that's kind of expected. And with Sean Lee, I really don't fear any running back, to be completely honest. When he's playing, whatever, they'll figure it out. And he's healthy. He's limited. He was limited in practice for the hamstring, which is probably just them trying to make sure he does not do anything to aggravate the hamstring. So that's just what that is. He'll be fine. If he gets another 18, 19 tackles, you've got to assume Cowboys will be in good shape. If Jeff, like the unsung thing right now, if Jeff Heath has another game like that, and he can keep up that consistency, if he gets another pick, no Cowboys fans should have a damn word to say about it. And like it's starting to reduce. Like, oh, he's got an interception 2 straight games. I can't really talk crap about Jeff Heath. Maybe if he can play well at safety position and play with aggressiveness, then that's good. Frazier missed a couple of tackles in this game. I mean, that's kind of should have been expected. He's not consistent. That's always been his problem. And he can't cover. Like you will not see him in coverage. So I don't know. It's just, there's reasons to hope. I'm just nervous about this game. I was still nervous about the Giants, even though who are they playing on offense? I mean, Sterling Shepard played the game like he was not interested. He just didn't look interested at all. It was like it's 2-10, fire coach. I'm still gonna get paid this week regardless. Whatever. So so yeah, I mean, I don't know. What else is it that's going on in the NFL that's caught your mind as we get close to wrapping things up?
Yeah, I got an update earlier. What did Jerry say about extension? He said he's still gonna pursue something, right?
I didn't look in. I kind of toned that out a bit because it's why is he? I don't understand why Jerry's even talking about it. To be honest with you, your team still needs 3 wins to get to the playoffs.
I guess it's just kind of caught me off guard that he's still adamant about this, just not letting it go.
He's mad about the Ezekiel Elliott situation. That's really all this boils down to. I mean, because when you look at it, he's trying to make a big deal about healthcare. He's trying to make a big deal about private jet. And I'm like, you're billionaires, and he's making an absurd amount of money. I don't think any of you really care about that because you all voted to say yes to that. You're taking care of one of your own. Jerry's just mad now because Ezekiel Elliott got suspended. That's all this is about. And then no one else will be able to convince me differently because Jerry literally voted for it not too long ago. So I mean, I don't know why they're going at it or why Jerry wants to talk about it. Worry about the team, please. You're kind of the GM by your own doing. So worry about that. But it's Jerry. He can't help himself. I sometimes, I guess.
Jerry will be Jerry.
And evidently Goodell said his relationship with Jerry is good, that there's disagreements that they have, and that's what it is. I don't believe it, but yeah, evidently, the contract is evidently going through until 2024, and after that, Goodell will be done, I guess. Which, whatever, because he'll be like 65 at that point, and he'll have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. He'll just retire and do nothing for the rest of his life. So,
good for him.
I mean, the thing is, like, the point with that is, like, a lot of players commented on that, and a lot of their comments were, "It must be nice getting that guaranteed contract." And, and my response to them is, talk to the NFLPA. Every other sport has that for the most part. Get your contracts guaranteed, like all of them. Like literally, that's the least you can get from the league that has this much money. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's where we're at right now with the Cowboys in practice and everything that's going on around the team. I guess it's good to comment on Switzer, I guess, before we wrap up, is that he's starting to really get his groove in the return game, which is great to see. Special teams can literally win or lose you a game. So him getting the feel of everything now, again, as we talked about past 2 weeks, I wish they would put him in on offense because he can add something. They just don't want to get creative. Bang your head against the wall.
Yeah, he possesses a little bit of that team speed that we were talking about earlier in the season. Like, he can add something. Like, obviously, you want more speed from somebody with a larger frame, but he's certainly an upgrade in the speed department on offense if we were to utilize him in the right way.
Yeah, same with Bryce Butler, who still on the injury report. Like, I don't know. I don't quite understand Scotland. And if the team wins out, he's going to save his job probably. I would probably say if they're 10-6, whether they're in the playoffs or not, they're probably not going to make any changes. 9-7 ish, maybe ish. 8-8. Yeah, it's almost gone. 7-9. Oh yeah, change be coming. So I don't know. I just wish they would do something different there because it's like, yeah, he's got the speed and I would be pressed to say he's had more than 25 offensive snaps this year, and that might be high. Like, why? Like, that's my one question is like, why do use him? Like, something. He's fast.
Why waste a third-round pick on a punt returner?
That's speaking about the Rams, they basically did that with Tavon Austin, but they decided to waste like a 15th overall, which I said coming out, I was like, that dude's not a first round pick. What are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? But yeah, they're pretty much basically been like, you're a kick returner and you're a punt returner. We'll get you in on offense one play every other game. And I'm like, what? Okay. But they're playing a lot with I forgot his first name. Wide receiver from Ohio State, Brown. They use him as a blocker a lot, which is the old Dwayne Harris rule. But well, I mean, do something. I mean, like that's good and all. You want receivers to block, but I don't know. It's just I don't necessarily want them to get away from running the ball, but I would like them to be more creative in how they do everything. I don't know.
While I do like the South running scheme, I do think we need to implement more of an outside run game to complement that.
Yeah, pretty much the outside runs they have are the outside zone plays, which are outside zone plays, but then not what you think of as a speed play. They're just outside zone plays, which is pretty much you read what you see, then cut mostly back to the inside. So
get the second level and hope to make the next guy miss. It's very simple run scheme.
Yeah, but I don't know. That is what it is, and I guess like, yeah, I'm going to try to start breaking down tape for college prospects this week. At some point, been a busy week. Yeah, still don't know what the position is yet. There's a lot to look at, and I'm already behind. It won't be quarterback, even though I want to. The Cowboys won't be drafting a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Never know with Jerry, but if that happens, I'm just throwing something. Like I don't care who it is, just I'm throwing something. Like, why would you do that? Everything else is pretty much on the table. Byron Jones is going to have an interesting offseason. Scandrick, I'm not sold that Scandrick will be here next year, or be in Dallas next year. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for him to be gone. I just would not at all care if he were gone.
Agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back later this week to talk about the Raiders game and update on who should be playing, who's not playing, what it looks like the Cowboys are going to try to do. If there's anything coming out of the Raiders camp to keep notice of, other than Khalil Mack rushing the passer. And yeah, that's about all we have for this week or today's show.
All right. Take care.